So gentlemen, this is the third video in the series of 3 videos on journaling as a personal practice. It is part of the Manifesto Know Thyself initiative, which we are encouraging men to engage in a contemplative and meditative practices to be able to move their life forward towards a state of flourishing. The first video in the series, I covered the why of journaling and especially put it into a context of why on earth would you want to engage in this kind of thing as a contemplative or meditative practice, how it is that it's bringing your life together. And the second video then covers the core of the practice, which is every single morning, I get up in the morning before I start my work, I sit down and I answer a set of questions that help me to focus my day and understand better what is it I want to get out of it and how to make sure that I'm on track and bringing in a kind of all the best learnings from the day before as well. And this third video now, it's going to really start bringing that link together between what I'm doing every single day and then my larger vision for my life. Because that's what all of this work is about gathering a clear vision of who I am and where I'm going in life and how am I bringing that into alignment with reality. And of course, doing this as a contemplative practice means that it's all about capturing and becoming the master of my own attention. So controlling your attention isn't as easy as you think it is. If you doubt me, then just try and control what you're going to think about for the next 5 minutes, or try and control what it is that you think about when you wake up in the morning tomorrow morning. It's not so easy, but what you can definitely make changes in and you can control is what are the long-term trends in what it is that you're giving your attention to, and how can you be making sure that you're focusing on the important things that are moving your life forward in a positive direction instead of you using it on meaningless entertainment or destructive habits or whatever it is. So this is really about the intentional, purposeful molding of your use of attention, which is at the heart of Manifesto's Know Thyself approach to contemplation. I think Jonathan Pageau really explains this in a really good way when he talks about the human being really as a collection of parts. And many of our parts are unintegrated or even at war with each other. And so in order to bring our parts together, you have to bring them into alignment with one singular thing. And it can be difficult to know what that one similar thing is, of course. And that's a part of what we're doing when we sit and are in a contemplative state. So at a practical level, we're taking a human life, and that's, of course, your life in your case, and you're trying to gather all of the different parts, ideas, initiatives, your desires, hopes, dreams, wishes for the future, and bring them all together. And if that sounds like a big undertaking, then that's because, of course, it is. It's only going to take the rest of your life to do it. And John Vervaeke, he talks a lot about how this thing of what you decide to intentionally focus your attention on, that will become more important to you. And as it becomes more important to you, then your attention's naturally, of course, going to go there as well. And so this becomes an upwards going spiral in a way that brings about this state of flourishing that we're looking for. So journaling is a key tool that helps us to do this. And Vervaeke calls it an ecology of practices, where journaling can be just one part of that. But it's a way of working through all of the things that are bubbling up in our hearts or in your consciousness and sorting them out, and slowly but surely bringing our thoughts about ourselves into alignment with reality and a positive vision of where it is that we want to go. So the rest of this video, I'm going to be doing a practical run through of my weekly review questions. So every single morning I answer a set of about 10 questions, and then once a week, and I do this on Monday morning, I then do my weekly review. And so I'm going to bring that up on the screen here, and we're going to take a look at these questions. So as I said, I sit here on Monday morning. First thing I do when I sit at my desk is I start off my week by doing this review. Some people like to do it on Sundays, but I really like to have my weekends free from having to do any work. So I only have to start this thinking process when I get going on Monday. And the first thing I do is I have free journaling. So this is, again, sometimes a very short couple of lines, maybe even just a couple of words. But what are the most important things that are on my heart that have been hitting me and that I feel like I would like to put down? And sometimes it ends up being a whole discussion with myself. And sometimes it's just a couple of bullet points or things that I know that I need to have my attention on. The important thing here, of course, is that I'm writing from my heart. So I'm not just like writing down words which are cliched or something like that, but I'm actually really putting into words that are meaningful for me, and I'm expressing myself. And if I notice that I'm just kind of writing automatically after a while and it's not really making sense from a deep place, then I'll stop, and then it's time to move on. The next question I have is, again, I've probably taken up a lot of, these days we read books, we listen to podcasts, we get all kinds of inspiration. Maybe we go to some kind of, to a lecture, or we go to church and we hear something really inspiring. And it's very easy for us to hear these things and be like, wow, that sounds great, but I don't actually implement it into my life. So this is what I'm working on, is to make sure that I'm actually taking the things that I hear that inspire me and then putting them into action in my life as well. And that's where I make sure that I'm doing this. The next thing is looking at what are the 1 to 3 highlights from the last week that I can be grateful for. Just this experience of gratitude, of seeing how my life is a small part of something much bigger happening and how I can fit into that. And normally for good things to be happening in my life, there's a whole lot of things that need to be in place and all kinds of other people and processes that have been contributing to it. So that's what I can see here. And often I'll just write down a couple of words here about what it is that I'm grateful for. I'll just mention as well, the link for this document that I'm showing you now is in the description for this video, so you don't have to write down these questions yourself, but you can just take it and then, of course, adjust the questions as you need them from my questions. You can start off with these ones. If you do that for a little while, you'll probably find that some of them you want to change and adjust and whatever it is. I'm a married man, so question number 4 is all about my family life review. That's the foundation for my life and for my daily day. And so it's important that that's all on top. So I'll actually often just go into 2 or 3 moments from the week with my family that I'm grateful for. So specific things that happened. The other ones are normally like bigger life purpose things or whatever. But this will be just like actual little moments of really being in presence with my family that I'll remember. I'll then say, what did I learn in my relationship this week? And this is, of course, my relationship with my wife, where I really feel that is the primary motor of growth for me in my life. The biggest challenges that I'm facing and learning about how to be with other people and to be able to negotiate and have empathy and whatever, those I'm learning with my wife. As I learn these things with my wife, then everything else kind of falls into place in all my relationships at my work and everywhere else as well. But it's really my wife where we're on that edge all the time of kind of getting to know each other better, becoming more intimate, and also facing the challenges of being 2 individuals that have our own agenda, all that kind of stuff. So it's a great thing to be consciously thinking about and noting for myself, what am I learning in that relationship? And then from that, I'll also become aware of, there's some things that we need to talk more about. And so I found that really as a man in a relationship, some people might get triggered by this, but as a man in a relationship, it's important that I'm the one who's setting the agenda in our relationship. And I do that by thinking more deeply about where can we be growing as a family, as a couple, and getting to know each other better, getting to know ourselves better, and taking the next steps in our lives. Because if I'm not doing that, then my wife will probably feel like she has to take the leadership of it, but that wears her out. And so it's really good if I'm proactively taking this leadership in my relationship with, by talking about, if I write down what I need to talk more about, there's a good chance that the opportunity to talk about it will pop up at some point, and then I'll have it. It's not like I'm going there and pressing her all the time. I need to be obviously careful with that as well. But bringing that attitude of growth in our relationship really helps us as a couple to have the right dynamic between us and to keep on moving forward. And then I'll also specifically note here, when in the coming week can my wife and I have some intimate time together, because it's really important. We have 1 child already at home and 1 on the way. And so booking specific time where we can just have ourselves and focus on our relationship. It's very easy for a child and a mother to grow very, very close, and the father kind of gets to stand outside. And one of the things that I continually hold on to and think is very important is that mine and her relationship is the primary one, and our sons will leave home and they'll go off, and what will be left is us. And so we need to make sure that we're continually affirming with each other that we are the core of the family and that we're going to hold that together. The next question here is on review quarterly goals or rocks. So this is the next step upwards in the pyramid of journaling, which I'm not going to cover this video, but every single quarter I'm setting 3 to 5 priorities for myself. And I do that in my work. I also do that at my home together with my wife as well, that we have main priorities. And so I'll be going through those and making sure that I'm noting down which are the ones that I'm working with in this week. So whatever the list is, I'll look at those lists and then I'll write down like, okay, these are the 2 that I need to be focusing on this week to making sure that I'm making progress with. Then I'm going to look at the past week, and I will first of all see what was the main struggle that I faced, and then if I was mentoring, advising someone dealing with the same issue, what would I advise them to do? It's a great way of looking at problem solving for yourself. How would you advise other people to be dealing with something that you're doing it yourself? And then lastly, the previous week I defined an MIT. This is the most important thing. If you see my previous video, you see that I define an MIT for every day, but I also have MITs for every single week. And so I answer this question: did I succeed with my MIT, and why or why not? Yes. Next thing I do then, of course, is, this is the most important part, but it's important that it also comes right at the end, is that I plan the coming week. So the first thing I'll do is I'll list all of the important things that'll be happening this week. What are the big things that I need to remember or be aware of or need to be thinking of, maybe preparing for? What is it that needs to happen? I will, and then from there, then I'm going to have this is my one big MIT. What is the one thing that I could do that makes everything else easier or unnecessary? So normally there's a whole lot of different things that are important, and I need to do this project and I can feel torn between all these kind of things. But then I just step back from that for a minute here, and I say, okay, well, what's the one thing that's going to make everything else more important? What's going to be moving my life forward in a way that helps with all of these little different priorities, and that can make all of them maybe even irrelevant in some ways as well. And normally there's always one thing that I can focus on, and sometimes I get so distracted by all the small things that I forget that one thing as well. So that's why this question is so important. And then I'll also look at this thing and say, well, okay, when is a good opportunity during the week to recharge? And that can be many different ways. Sometimes, normally at the beginning of the week on that Monday, I know, like, okay, this week I actually need to just sleep a little bit extra to recharge. Or sometimes I need to work out really, really hard. Sometimes I need to connect with friends. Sometimes I need to go for a walk in nature by myself. So it's when and how is a good opportunity during the week to recharge. So what is it that I need to do? And I'll often just book that straight in my calendar right there as I'm doing this. I'll book in an hour or 3 hours or whatever it is that I need to make sure that I'm getting the time out that I need to do to have the energy to run the rest of the day. That's the most important thing. And then having done that, then I'm going to take what are the 1 to 3 MITs for the week. And some of these things will come directly from my quarterly goals. Some of them will be something, obviously the first one's often going to be from this question right over here. Some of them might come up from like my conversation about my family or something like that. But I'll then go through all 4 of these questions for every single one of these MITs. And this really helps me to get very, very clear on what needs to happen and to make it specific so I can know if I can succeed or not. So I write down, I give it a name. I say, like, what is it I need to achieve? Like write 10 pages of this book. Why is it important to me? What will happen if I do not succeed? So it's again like underlining for myself and getting clear on it. And just taking time to write one sentence. It's like, okay, sometimes you think like, if I just think it'll be fine. No, I write it down. It's really important to get this stuff written down. And then from there, I make a plan. How am I going to get there? What are the actual steps? What are the things that need to happen? And normally this is just like 3 or 4 bullet points or something like that to make it really explicit what actually needs to happen to get there. Otherwise, sometimes it becomes very vague. I need to do something about improving my marketing or something like that, right? It's like, what does that actually mean, and how do I actually do it? And so that gets really specific and explicit when the last one, I say, well, what does it look like when it's done? So what's the actual result of this thing? And so I do that for each of the MITs. Sometimes there's just 1. Sometimes I'll even go up to 4, but I'll never go over 4. And I really try to keep it to 3 for the week to make sure that I get these things. And of course, I'm looking at these MITs at my daily level as well, on my daily journaling. And then, once I've done that, then sometimes if it's a Monday, as I said, then I often don't go through all the daily questions, which were these questions up here. I'll often just do a ultra short version of that. I'll just answer these 2 questions here because I've kind of already gone through a lot of these things, and this has covered the whole of the last week. And you can see there is some similarities between my weekly and my daily journaling. So what I'll do is I'll just plan out this day. I'll list all the appointments that I have, write down like 1 o'clock I do this, 3 o'clock I do this, 6 o'clock I do this. And then if there's important tasks that I need to do, I'll allocate time to those tasks. And normally then I'll just start working on my first MIT, the big thing. Sometimes it'll be something else that's really pressing as well to get done. Sometimes one of the MITs might just be like empty my inbox of my email, right? That can also be a source of stress, of course. And then as I do every single day, I also update my habit tracking to make sure I don't update habit tracking during the weekend normally. So this is Monday morning. I have to update tracking for what I did during the weekend for my habits. So that was my run through of my my weekly review. I hope you found it valuable. I hope you found it interesting. Please let me know if you have questions or comments. And let's see if maybe there'll be coming one on the quarterly review process sometime later. Of course, that's quite a bigger consideration where we really need to think at a far deeper level about what it is that we're doing. So thanks very much.